This is too funny. Hello, 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 Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. This is Lala Angela Wang coming to you live. And this is also a recording for my podcast, The Womanly Way. So if we haven't met before, my name is Lala Angela Wang. I work in the construction industry in Sydney, Australia. I've been working here for the past 18 years. Absolutely love it. I also have my own business called The Womanly Way. Essentially, I help modern day corporate women creating their dream lives through multiple streams of income. And recently, since I've become a mom, I've realized really for me, the reason that this is my calling is so I can help more mums, mum to bees, mum wannabes creating their dream lives the same way that I have done with less stress and more harmony. So, if we have never met before, welcome, welcome, welcome. Nice to meet you. And just so you know, this is all streaming from StreamYard. So if you are on the social and you're watching this, if you want to comment, I can actually see your comment and I can also comment back. So please say hi if you're watching me live. If you're watching the replay, hashtag the womanly way, and I'll be able to respond. So as you could see, today's topic is really about a recent news event that has happened in the company that I work for. So let's start with the background story, and then we can talk about my view and how that actually links to this thing about how we're being played every day to keep us small. So it happened on Wednesday. Scott, George, and I were actually down in my parent-in-law's in Scott's family's parents' home, and it was just before dinner time. I was playing with George on the floor, and Scott's dad goes, "Angela, what's this news about Richard Crook's constructions going into voluntary administration?" I'm like, what? What? And so he read out the news to me, and I was like, "Oh no, that was from last year." He's like, "No, it's 14th of June," and I haven't quite clicked. I didn't realize it was 14th of June that day. I said, "No, that's last year, definitely last year." He said, "No, it's today. It was only posted 22 minutes ago." And immediately I knew because I've been with the company long enough, know enough to know, and I trust the company that I work for. I've been there for almost 10 years. Can you believe that? On and off, almost 10 years. I did run away to another company and I have to bag my way back. That's another story for another day. But basically, it was fake news, right? The news basically talked about how the company that I work for is going into voluntary administration. And it was going to be, yet another construction company suffered from the recent crisis. Now, if you live in Australia, you'll know there's been quite a few large construction companies going under in the past 2 years. It really all started with COVID, and then the materials are harder to get. So material prices gone up, supply chain issues, delivery issues, and labor costs has gone up as well. So at its worst, we've had jobs we priced 6 months ago, and then because whatever reason it got put on hold, and when it comes back and we have to reprice it, it's already gone up by 20%. Now, can you imagine if you're a small company and you started this job 6 months ago, the job got delayed, and you locked into a price. That's the price. You then have to somehow find a spare cash, find a spare 20% cash, right? To cover your material, to cover your labor, to cover whatever you need to cover. So it has been tough the past couple of years in our industry, which made this fake news worse. Okay. And I don't think whoever spread the news or post the news realize the magnitude of what they're doing and how much harm or pain they were about to create for not even for the intended audiences, not even for, if they were planning to harm the company, then it was actually very ineffective. But what they had done was it had a major effect on a lot of other people. They were perhaps not the intended target, right? Or they probably didn't realize they were hurt. And these were the subcontractors, really, and the staff of the company and also of the subcontractors company. So for those of you who perhaps are not familiar with the structure of the industry, generally you have a client and then you would have a head contractor, which is the company that I work for. We generally project managers, right? And underneath us, you would have different tradesmen like the carpenters, the joiners, maybe the carpet layers, all those people that actually performs the work. And those people will have their employees, their suppliers, and then sometimes they might even have subcontractors. And then if you can then just imagining yourself, right? Let's say if you're a carpenter and you have already gone through 2 of the companies that you work for has went into administration and you had not been paid those money, right? Because what happens when a company goes into administration, generally the subcontractors are the ones that lose out because they may not have enough money to divvy up, right? So if you already lost tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars and sitting there just before the end of financial year to be told that another company that you're working for has decided to go into or is about to go into voluntary administration, what goes through your head? Holy moly, I'm not going to be paid again. I'm already struggling. Belt's already tightened. It's hard enough keeping my head above water. What am I going to tell my family? How am I going to feed my kids? How am I going to keep the roof above my head, paying the mortgage because the house has been, mortgaged on in order to keep the business running? Can you imagine the fear, the stress, the emotions that are going through someone's head? Not only that they have already gone through it twice, they're about to go through it the third time. And then can you imagine being an employee, hearing that your company, like you didn't hear it from your boss, you hear it from a news media and say that your company is about to go into voluntary administration. It's payday. You haven't got paid yet because, the funds normally come through at 6:00 and this is 2:00 in the afternoon. You were waiting to get paid so you can pay all these bills. It's hard enough paying the extra interest on your mortgage and everything's as tight as it could be. The last thing you want to know is that you're not getting paid this month and you could potentially lose your job. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the stress and angst? I get upset every time I think about it because I've been there. I've been there when the last week before payday, it was rice and tuna. And if I can't afford tuna, then it'll be rice and corn or chickpea, canned chickpea, because canned chickpea and corn is my rock bottom cheapest thing that I could find because it was 99 cents per can. So that's 2 of them. And that's my only meal for that day. And every time I think about it, I go back to that place. And trust me, it's not something that you want to do as a parent, right? I cannot imagine feeding George corn and chickpea. I just can't. It breaks my heart. And so I think whoever decided to spread this news and whoever decided to post this news are both very irresponsible. I know they didn't think about that. They perhaps didn't even realize the effect that it could have on people. Right? But I just think, and this goes the same to any influencers or people who has a social presence. We need to be careful what we say, but also we need to be responsible about what we say. Right? Because it's people's lives and livelihoods that we're playing around with here. This story may have served the purpose that you wanted to serve at the first place. But did you also know that there were several people that were about to take their own lives because of this news? If you really compare the impact that you had on your real target compared to these other normal people that are just trying to keep their head above the ground, the normal people receives the biggest impact. It might have taken the company 2 days to smooth the water, and that was about it. But the mental and emotional stresses you have put on everyday ordinary people who are just doing their best to keep their head above water, that was tremendous. And that's very selfish, I think. But what this has also led me to think is that, our society is built on bodies upon bodies of fears. We were taught fears when we were at a very little, young age, right? It's like, don't do this. That's dangerous. This is dangerous. If you do this, if you do that, you're going to hurt yourself. And I see myself do it as well. And I try so hard not to do it with George, just allowing him to do all the things. But it's so hard because I don't want him to get hurt. But at the same time, I need to be reminding myself of the programming and conditioning that I have had as a child. Like us Asian people, we're the worst, right? Don't do this, don't do that. Actually, I was at the playground with George today, and there's this mom that was just like, her daughter was coming off the slide. But you know how sometimes if your shoes are like extra gritty, your shoes can get caught on the slide if you're not like sitting down properly. That's what happened to her daughter. So one of her leg was caught on a slide. And the mum's like, oh my God, slides are so dangerous. You have to lift your feet. It's like, these are kids. They'll learn. But apparently there was this one time she got caught and then flipped over the side of the slide. Totally understandable why she's so scared, right? I have a friend years ago. She used to be, she has her own fears, obviously. And I remember I used to have this small purse where I put everything in, like my notes, my coins, my cards, my phone, and everything just gets shoved in because it was easy. I just need to take it, sling onto over my head, crossbody, that. She just say, well, aren't you afraid that you're going to lose your stuff? I'm like, oh, I'll be fine. She's like, don't carry it like that at your back. People will steal your shit. That's what my mom and my grandparents used to tell me anyway. Or like, I would put notes like this in between my mouth just because I run out of hands and I need to do things. She's like, oh, that's so disgusting. That's yucky. How do you know how many germs and things is that? I don't know. I'm like, oh, yeah, but I'm not gonna die from it. It'll be alright. And this is me, right? And it just reminded me so much of her, but also reminded me so much of my upbringing. It's like we perhaps were not aware of it when we were little, but we were programmed and conditioned the moment they were born to see the world as an unsafe place. And this is how it all works. I'm going to use a bit of brain science, but mine's very brutal mental. If you think about our brain as three simple layers, you have the bottom layer, which is our fear response. The middle layer is our problem solving. And the top layer is our big vision, our dreams, our ambitions, our creativity. All right. And if you think about it as a corporate structure, then the bottom is your minions, in the middle is your middle managers, and up the top is or up the front really, is your executives, right? When we face with fear and when we go into fight or flight, it's the minions that are responding, oh my God, 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 run! And then when we finally get over it and go into problem-solving mode, it's the middle managers. But unless we can tap into safety, security, and be at peace, we can't really tap into our big vision. We can't really tap into our creativity, right? And I think parenthood is like a great example. Right now, let's be honest, George has just passed 15 months. But my life, I'm not quite at the million level anymore. I was when he was first born. But now I'm in the middle manager stage where everything is just about problem solving. That's all I have energy for. If I'm not purposely living my life intentionally, right? That's all really I have the capacity for. I'm very lucky today that I record. This is the second time I'm recording this podcast because I forgot to press go live. So I actually did a live on Instagram, but not on StreamYard, which means Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube didn't get it. So I decided to do it again. And that's very rare for me that I'm still awake at 10:30, right? Generally, by the time I put George to sleep and have my dinner, I'm gone. Because I'm in survival mode right now. Right? Being a mom with a 1-year-old is hard. Maybe, if you have kids and they're older, you might say being a mom is hard, full stop. But for me, it's been a struggle to find time and to find the energy to do all the other things on top of my corporate job, on top of looking after the household, looking after George, getting the meals done, getting the house cleaned. By the time I do all that, that's pretty much me, right? And in order to be this best version of me and continue to work on my passion project, which is the Womanly Way, which is the podcast, which is my contribution to the world, I need to tap into the front part of my brain. But to do that, it requires a lot of discipline and practices. It requires me having what I call my foundations right. It requires me to really tap into my inner peace, finding the balance. And this is really down to daily practices. It's about the physical exercise that I do. It's about the meditation, the journaling, my connection to spirit, all those things, and finding time and have the discipline to do it. But we weren't taught that at school. All right. By the way, my program Back to Basic is 111 days with me to go through. Well, I'll do it with you because I'm going back to basic as well, to really go through those practices that I just spoke about and really establishing a daily practice that suits your lifestyle. I don't believe in doing all those things every single day, but I believe establishing some sort of daily practices that suits your routine, that allows you to just go into the zone every day and have some time for yourself to tap into your peace, inner peace, tap into your safety. But this is not what we've been taught. What we have been taught is that the world is unsafe. Tap into fear, tap into fear, tap into fear. Why do they want us to tap into fear? Because when you're stuck in your minion zone, you can't problem solve. When you can't problem solve, you can't then think about practical ways that you can then tap into your creativity. And when you can't tap into creativity, you can't tap into your genius. You can't tap into your genius zone, which then means you're stuck in a rat race. Right? To break the rat race, we need to tap into our creativity. But instead, we've been taught to stuck in a rat race. Because if you're scared, just keep following the rat race and it will work. It will work. It will work. And when you're stuck in your minion, you go like, oh yeah, it will work. It will work. It will work. But if you step out of it, you go like, hold on a second. It doesn't make sense. Right? But this is how our brain actually works. This is how our whole body actually works. Your blood circulates through our body, right? But when you're in the fight or flight, your blood doesn't go all the way to your frontal cortex. It doesn't go to the boss. It's stuck in the minion zone. Your blood goes into the minion zone and then comes back down again because it can't go through it. It just needs to continue to pump and support the minion, going like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And if you manage to go out of the fight or flight and tap into your logic thinking, then you tap into your problem solving zone, right? But if you, so then the blood will circulate to the middle part of your brain where you start. When your blood circulates, you get oxygen in there, then you can start problem solving. But what you really need is to tap into peace, security, and harmonizing your emotions, your thoughts, your processes, and achieve inner peace. Because what that allows you to do is to open up your bloodstream, to allow your blood to go all the way to the front of your brain, where your creative genius lives, allow oxygen to go in there. So then all of a sudden everything opens up. You tap into your creative geniuses. That is when you can create magic. That is when you can break through the rat race. But that requires daily practices to get you out of the minion zone. That is something that we are not being taught in our school system, even today. Why? Because then we will have too many geniuses around the world that cracks the code to be rich and to be following our dreams. And then there will be too many happy people, which means the rich can no longer make the money that they want to make. They're going to have to share around, but also means that we can no longer be controlled. So that's my little ranty rant. I think, out of this, really, there's 2 or 3 messages I really want to get across here. Number one, I think anyone who has got any social presence, anyone who has got any power, I know some people do it intentionally and on purpose, but I think we all need to be a little bit more responsible with our own action. Even though you think, I want to do this, I don't know, as a revenge to hurt somebody, every action will have a ripple effect. Anything we do in this universe has a ripple effect. And I think we need to be a little bit more responsible with what we say on the social, because what you say could actually impact someone's life positively or negatively. I think that's one. Number 2 is to not always trust what you read, right? To not always trust what you read. Fact check. Fact check everything. Don't believe everything you see. And number 3, do whatever it takes to get yourself out of the fear race. For me as a mom, I am so conscious of not being that mom, that helicopter George. And what I really want him to learn is not to have fear. It's not to have fear, because fear is actually a really good protection mechanism to keep us alive. But to understand the fear triggers and understand that fear is a good indicator. But just because we have fear doesn't mean that we don't do things, right? As long as you've done your homework, you do your checks. Fear allows us to problem solve, to rate our risks, and then do it in a safer manner. So, to anyone who desires a different life, really, it's all about going back to the basics and get yourself out of the fear mentality first. To be honest, this is also why I don't read the news, why I don't watch a lot of TV. To me, it's my way of keeping my sanity, but also allows me to find my inner peace a lot easier. So I don't have the noise and the distractions from the outside world. I mean, there's enough people around me to tell me what news is happening, right? So that's me for today. A little bit of ranty rant, a little bit of, share about my understanding with and my relationship with fear, I guess, and how I bypass that and create and find inner peace so that then I can actually tap into my creative geniuses. I hope you find this episode helpful. Like I said, if you want to join me on a journey to going back to basic and finding your daily practices, send me a direct message. And there will be obviously more information in the show note once the podcast is published. But if you're watching a live or you're watching a replay on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, feel free to drop me a direct message and I'll be more than happy to send you the link to sign up and join this amazing 111-day challenge. And it's It's essentially, you can choose to join me for 33 days, 66 days, 99 days, or 111 days, and it'll be $1 a day, basically. It's a no-brainer, I think. You get support from me, obviously. There will be daily shares, and there will be content in there. All the things. It's a bit of a self-study thing. It's not, one-on-one or group mentoring, but you get enough content to really build on a system that will help you tap into your daily practice or establish a daily practice. So that's me for today. Love you all so, so, so much. I will see you next time.